Hey, welcome back to Wild Mind, Rooted Heart. I'm Christine, and this is the space for the overthinkers, the deep feelers, and people trying to understand themselves without completely exhausting their nervous systems. And if you're someone who's been enjoying these conversations, you can follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. I'm really just building a space here for people who think and feel deeply, and you're always welcome in it. Now, let's talk about the weird parts of being human. Today, we're talking about something that quietly shapes the way a lot of us see ourselves: your inner critic. And more specifically, the realization that your inner critic might not actually be your voice. Have you ever noticed how harsh your inner dialogue can be sometimes? The way you talk to yourself after a mistake, the way your mind picks apart things you said, the way it tells you you're not doing enough or not being enough. And if you listen really closely, that voice doesn't always sound like you. I remember realizing at some point that the way I spoke to myself internally was way harsher than how I would ever speak to someone else. There was this constant pressure, constant criticism, constant analyzing. And I thought that was just my personality, like I was just someone who was hard on myself. But the more I started paying attention, the more I realized that voice felt familiar, not original. A lot of our inner dialogue is learned. It comes from environments we were in, things we were told, things we picked up on without even realizing. And over time, those external voices can become internal ones. So now it feels like it's coming from you, but really, it was installed. And the good thing is, you can undo it. Learning to slow down and to recognize, to view it if you can without judgment. At first, you got to kind of judge yourself and then remove that layer in a sense. For me, that's kind of what I had to do. But reminding yourself that you're doing this from a place of love and a place of wanting to change and evolve and to just be better for you and everyone else in your life, or that you may come in contact with, or honestly, even just for yourself to have a better experience here on Earth in this lifetime. It's totally worth it. I think for me in my journey, I had to definitely slow down, learn to listen and pause when I would notice I'm saying horrible things to myself in response to a simple mistake. I did a little drop of water on the counter after doing dishes or something, or water splashed out, and I'm like, I'm an idiot, all like just so many things. And I'd be like, well, is this my voice or is this from someone else? Did I pick this up from somebody else? That's why I know I talk a lot about therapy. I think it's important to have someone in your life, whether it is a therapist, whether it is a coach, whether it is a friend, or just someone that you trust, to be able to go through the process of all that comes up during this, and they're able to help kind of clear the clutter. I'm so aware of so many things, so I get distracted sometimes, or I get lost in the chaos. So it's nice to have somebody who can pull you out of it or help give you a different perspective. I love a new perspective. I like people who think for themselves and don't just follow the crowd, right? Reframing that inner voice is probably going to be one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. When I was going through the shedding and the filtering of all that internal noise, I've been able now to like recognize where it's coming from. Like, who did I hear that from? Maybe not everything, but a lot of the big things and a lot of the mean things and a lot of the cruel things that I would hear repeated in my head, thinking it was me saying it, thinking it was my voice. But once I kind of found a way to break that apart, to break free from that and kind of be me, this like lost, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, and having this other thing that I eventually, the more that I just kind of turned away from it and was like, actually, I love myself. Actually, I'm not an idiot. Actually, I am really smart. I may be a little clumsy, but I know that I will take care of whatever mess thing that I've done, right? I know that I can rely on myself. I know that I am strong and courageous and brave. I know that I'm very sensitive and there's nothing wrong with it. The only time it's wrong is when it's unmanaged, when you're just out here freaking out over every little thing. But again, that is programmed. And honestly, when I got my cat, when I decided to get her, I noticed how I was reacting to her. That I think was a really big mirror for me that I needed. So I noticed how I was reacting to her and I didn't like it. And something in me was like, that doesn't feel like me. So I love to find safe ways to do things, make my nervous system not totally panic. Because sometimes when I fully will try to rewire something on myself in the beginning, I'd get overwhelmed or it would feel, I don't even know how to explain it. But changing the way that I talked to my cat, which for some people it may be your children. I don't have children. I personally don't think I want them for myself. Love them. But this was my way of healing. So the way that I started talking to my cat, I started using those phrases and those words and connecting to myself in the same way. I do my best, and I've always kind of done my best to not be judgmental. I don't like it. Everyone's going through something they don't always talk about. And as someone who's come from a pretty traumatic life, with adults that I can now recognize have their own trauma that they didn't work through and were able to work through for whatever reason. That's their thing, their life, their journey. I just know that I've had to learn to grieve through that. Healing is a lot of grieving. It's a lot of grief. And I do think that's what holds people back is you have to go through the motions. But yeah, learning to talk to my cat in a different way, then shifting that inward, learning to look in the mirror and not looking for what's wrong, just looking at myself, looking in my eyes, saying, I love you to myself. Like I remember reading a study that someone said, if you brush your teeth with your left hand in the morning and then look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you 10 times. And there was a third step that I cannot remember, but I did those first two for a long time. And I still do it more often than not. It feels weird. It could feel uncomfortable, but there's something to it. I feel like a lot, like social media very much has made us extremely vain and maybe not in the right ways. Like if you go in nature, the only way you're going to be able to see your reflection of yourself is like a body of water or a puddle or something like that, like some sort of reflection. It's not clear, and I do think there's something to that being the all we really need to see of ourselves. I don't think we're meant to see ourselves in high def, like all listen staring at ourselves all the time. I think that kind of adds fuel to the already thing that's on fire. But again, it's all in what you do with it, what you know, if you hear something and like you're like, that makes sense. Maybe I should try that. You can shift it and everything that you do. This is a thing I wish more people would realize. Everything that you do helps shift the people around you and the full collective energy in general. But that inner voice kept me down for what I felt was long enough. I had ended a relationship around 2020, 2021 and was like, that's it. I cannot date right now. I cannot just engage with another person because of what is happening. I was essentially repeating a cycle without being conscious of it in partners that I chose. People that continued to fuel that inner voice I didn't enjoy. People that felt good about making me feel bad. I just was so tired of feeling that way. And I was just like, I'm done. I need to figure out how to change this. How do I change this? And I think that's a big point of when people begin to change or you start a healing journey, a spiritual awakening, depending on how you're doing things and what is coming up for you, what feels aligned, how you're navigating your process. But change, I think the most impactful kind of change happens when you are just tired of the way that things are, the way they've been, the way that they're going, and you really are ready for something different. You don't know how, you don't care, like you will figure it out. Listen to that voice, that one that wants you to change, that one that is quieter. That's what I learned too. Like my original voice, my internal guide was quieter, was kind of in the background. I'd hear it every so often. It kept me safe in a lot of situations, but it was just so quiet or faint because I wasn't turned to it. I was kind of like, I don't know what you are, but this I know, and this is what's been screaming in my face or in my head or whatever. This is what I know. I don't know you yet. You know, talking back and forth to my inner voice versus the inner critic kind of thing. They were kind of very much meshed, it felt like inside. So, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, breaking them apart, splitting. I'm also someone who I have experience with borderline personality disorder from trauma and witnessing that in other people. I've family members who are just mental illness has been very prevalent in my life. So I understand how hard it is, and I understand the challenges that come with change and healing and wanting to better yourself, but it is possible. Just keep going and learn to listen to that inner voice. So, yeah, I realized I was turned more towards the loud thing in my screaming in my face, that I couldn't always recognize or hear the quieter voice that was inside that's actually me. And for some people, it can just be like one part of you, just you in as a whole. For me, I realized it was like a younger version of me. It was like 6, 7, 8, like that young range. And then there's like a teenage part of me as well that I've been able to connect with. Connecting to little me was the hardest part. But learning to listen to that and trust it, because if you're going to trust anyone or believe in anything, shouldn't it be yourself? Shouldn't you take a chance on yourself? And if you feel like you can't, then maybe you begin working on other skills like self-discipline, being able to show yourself that you can trust yourself. And it's little things. These things don't have to be monumental experiences. It can be something as small as, from somebody who grew up with like, you need to do this, everything needed to be like done, kept up with, but yet they didn't keep, it was just a whole thing. Anyway, hypocrisy. But I became very rigid with like cleaning, and not that it's a bad thing, right? But it was neurotic. Like internally, I realized it was internal panic that was like motivating me or moving me or keeping me going. Survival, yes. And so I would slowly be like, okay, I can leave the dishes in the sink. Like I don't have to do everything right then and there. Also, I'm a projector in human design. Learning about that and learning how rest is productive, learning how I move at my own pace and I need to follow the beat of my own drum, and help encourage other people to do that. That's what we're here to do. Made so much sense. No, and I am glad I can find pieces of things that I've learned. I didn't need to learn it to the severity that it was like instilled in me, but I do take those lessons and hold on to them. I've just learned to mold them into ways that work with me. And the importance of finding more time for quiet as an overthinker and big, deep feeler. It's so that you can kind of hear that little voice a little more, so that you can connect to you. Trust that, learn to do little things. If you feel resistance to something you know is good for you, I invite you to push yourself a little, go in that direction. And I would start saying things out loud. I mean, I probably sounded crazy for a little while. I don't care. If I heard that come in, I'd be like, no, stop. I'm not listening to you. And I would just stop. And I would just stop what I was doing and I would just pause. I just can see myself in my kitchen in my apartment that I had just moved out of earlier this year. That place was a big, 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 like, moment of my life that it just gave me exactly what I needed. It helped me. It gave me the space and the safety and the protection that I needed to be able to grow. Yeah, I could just see myself in the kitchen being like, it's okay. And like, I'd be pacing and, just all these things, but moving my body so that I could just get it out, because I was showing myself I'm okay. It's okay. laying down on the couch. I used to get in trouble for growing up. Like, you weren't allowed to be comfortable. Also, I had surgery on my back, like, young. I had to relearn how to walk. And still, after that, like, conditioning is just wild because I wasn't even allowed to heal correctly from that. The expectation of what I was supposed to be able to do after was supposed to be just like everybody else. I took that on for myself, and it's like, wait, I'm not like everybody else. You know, the pain I live with every day is something that a lot of people could not deal with. They would be in the hospital thinking they're going crazy. But I've learned to breathe through it, you know, meditate. Anyway, listening to my inner voice, changing the inner critic, even externally now. Like, I don't look, always seeing people differently, but I don't want to carry the energy or feel the energy of looking around the world. Like, I try to avoid looking at other people. Like, most, people look and they're like, oh, why would they wear that? Why do they do? I don't even, I'm just like, oh, look at them living their best life. And then I want to look at anything but people as an energy sensitive person, as an energy conscious person, as someone who just, I see through your mask of a skin, of your human skin. Sounds weird, but it is what it is. It's a gift. Okay. I'm learning to work with it. So it's changed how I look at the world. Listen, like, changing my inner voice. It's helped me grow, and it's helped me be, I think, a better person and a better support system for people. Give yourself tough love as well. Like, I think people tend to baby themselves too much. I think sometimes some people don't, they're not harsh enough on themselves. Like, I have my non-negotiables. I have my things that I will do no matter what daily. Flexibility with how well it gets done, but I still have things that I just like to do and make, so it just helps me not fall into a low vibrational state. That's what I'll call it. And one of the best things you can do for yourself is to fix that voice in your head. And you might think it's yours until you sit down and take a moment to filter through it. Oh, wait, where did I hear that from? Oh, who told me that? Or where did I see that? Because that's the other thing. As kids, you do more, you take on more, you observe more, and then have the output based on what you see, I think, more than what you're being told. That's why, like, actions are stronger than words, because people can say a lot of really good things. You could tell yourself a lot of really good things. But if you're not following through on those things just because they feel difficult, just because they feel hard, they won't feel that way forever. But when you're starting to mold something or hatch it through something, like a wall, a whatever, I kind of look at it like you're essentially getting to the sculpture of you. So you have to kind of hack away at what's hard first. And then as you get going, it gets easier. You won't feel as much resistance because you're like, oh, wait, no, this actually feels good. It feels weird and like scary or overwhelming at first, but no, this feels good. And I choose to live my life continuing to find things that feel good. Good for my soul, good for me long term, not just only for the moment. Love a good, having fun moment and being a free bird, but you got to learn to take care of you and to care for you. And I think it's okay to do it from a place of love and compassion and understanding and learning to work with yourself, not letting, because I also think that voice that is like, I can't do anything, I think that's fueled also from our conditioning part. Find a way that feels safe for you and go with it and continue to pile on, continue to find what feels good. And what habits are going to help you or support you towards the kind of life that you are wanting to live, if there's a change that you're looking for. It all begins with you and sitting down and taking the minute to discern between what responses are coming up. If you're noticing and you're commenting on something you don't like in another person, take a minute to make sure that you aren't also exhibiting those traits. Another thing I've learned. Sometimes when you see something in someone else and you're like, oh my God, I can't stand da 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 da. Sometimes that's an internal thing that you could work through. Some of our inner critics are just expired authority figures still trying to run the show. Meanwhile, the actual you is somewhere in the background. Like, can we maybe not talk to ourselves like that? Having to remind myself that I'm an adult, I am a grown up, I am a woman. Why am I still letting past authority figures run this mind of mine? And in a sense, keeping me in that state of being. No, not anymore. I'm going to let this go. I am going to show my nervous system what safety is within myself, because I know a lot of people that have been able to find that with other people, but I think that's amazing to have that support so you kind of have something that's more familiar. But it's so, so, so important to also make sure that you have that within yourself. Your inner world should be a place that you enjoy, not a place that you feel like you need to escape from all the time. So the goal isn't to completely silence that voice overnight. It's to start recognizing it, separating it, questioning it. Because once you realize this isn't actually me, you create space. And in that space, you can start choosing a different voice. So here's something to think about. When your inner critic shows up, whose voice does it sound like? And what would it feel like to respond to yourself with a little more understanding instead? And if this space has been resonating with you, you can follow or subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. I'm just building something honest here, and I'm glad you're a part of it. As always, thank you for spending this little pocket of time with me. Take what resonated today and let it settle. Let what landed sink in. And anything that didn't quite fit can just rest nearby for now. Sometimes clarity doesn't come all at once. It builds quietly as you keep showing up as yourself. Until next time, take care of your mind and stay rooted in your heart.